Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and today we got three different tournaments to look at for today's video. There were three tournaments this past weekend. We had the Orlando Regionals, we had Perth Regionals, and we had the Singapore Regionals. So there was quite a few different tournaments this weekend to look at for today's video, where we look at every deck that got day two. Already looking at some of the results, there are some pretty interesting cards and decks that made day two in these tournaments. I'm excited to look at all of them here. This one might be a bit of a longer video. We're going to try to keep it a little bit more brief, but the results from both Perth and Singapore, despite being smaller, are still going to have an impact on our format, in my opinion, so I still wanted to cover those regardless, obviously. And I guess if y'all are new to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 14K subs. We actually just hit 13K here on the second channel, so thank you all once again for all the support on the channel and all that good stuff. I'll leave a link to Limitless, the site I am using here to look at all of the tournament results, in the description down below. And let's start things off with Perth Regionals. So Perth did see the dominance of Charizard. There was quite a few Charizard in the top 8. In fact, the entire top 3 was Charizard. And the deck that won was Charizard. Charizard did win 2 major tournaments this weekend because Charizard is just really good. And we're living in Charizard's world basically right now. So the build that won actually was an interesting concept. So it does have that like Tord engine of the Pidgeot and the Bibarel and the Clefos, but it does play that one of Regieleki. Now, this was something that we saw in EUIC, where we saw Charizards playing a Regieleki. So the idea behind Regieleki is you can use that first attack, where you can put back an item or a trainer card into your hand from your discard pile. So essentially what the Regieleki does is it allows you to continuously like loop powerful items. You can get back Rare Candy, you can get back Eerie, you can get back TM Devolution, you can get back Palpad. You basically have like infinite resources in different scenarios, and it's really good to be able to like loop TM Devolution. It's good to get back, those supporters, Rare Candies, good against Eerie. It probably helps a lot in the mirror match. It's a very interesting tech inclusion in the Charizard deck, and it is the reason why we see Charizard won this tournament, because this deck does have that Regieleki, which I'm sure did help, because we saw Eerie being used in Charizard here, and that wasn't the only Charizard list that played Eerie, because in the list at second place, same thing, we saw a Charizard list here playing in the Eerie. It is kind of similar to the Tord build. It doesn't have the Regieleki in the deck, though. There's no Regieleki in here. There is a Hero's Cape, however, and there's also Penny and Turo in the deck. And there's an Eerie. There's a TM Devolution. There's even a double Turbo Energy in the list. So it's very interesting Charizard 60. I guess there's even a Magma Basin. So interesting stuff going on in this Charizard list for sure. But this one definitely might have had maybe a bit of a weaker time into the Regieleki build. I'm not too sure on that. And then, of course, in top 4, there was another Charizard Regieleki build. This one not playing the Bibarel like the first place list had, but does still play the Regieleki, has a double Eerie. So it is interesting to note that a lot of the list here in Australia were all on the Regieleki train. And that is very interesting. Is Regieleki optimal within Charizard? Now, in top 4, there was a Lost Box deck. We do see it as the more traditional style Lost Zone variant right now, with the Moon, the Hands, the Raikou, and the Hoopa in the deck. Got the Mew in there. Mew's really good against Charizard. Still the Spiritomb in the deck. Despite the Cleffa being discovered in Charizard, they're still playing the Spiritomb to help against the Zard matchup a little bit. And then, of course, there was another Zard in top 8 here. This one, once again, playing in the Regieleki. Does have that Bibarel Pidgeot engine once again. Actually, I think it's the same 60 as the one that got first place here, piloted by Rahul. So, yeah, it's the same 60 that got first within the tournament. So, that's a lot of the decks here in top 8 playing the Regieleki. There was, of course, the good old Moon Dunsparce deck here in top 8, which is really cool to see. This deck is a lot of fun to play. This build does play a Temple of Sinnoh in the deck, so trying to respect the Mist Energy, which probably would be a big deal for Frenzy Gouging. Pretty cool to see that deck do well. And then there was a Lugia in top 8. So I think this is Lugia's first major top 8 cut so far in our format. It didn't get top 8 in Orlando. It didn't get top 8 at UIC, but it did get top 8 here in Perth. Now, Lugia is still a very strong deck. Now, despite its consistency issues, the deck can still pop off. It still has a lot of power behind it. Cinccino is still really powerful. Lugia itself can be a very strong card, too. And this build does play Snorlax and Mew in the deck. I like the idea of Mew and Lugia right now. I think Mew's a pretty cool addition to Lugia deck, especially if you're attacking with so many one-prizers. It's actually pretty easy to force your opponent, especially against Charizard, down to 1 prize remaining, so you can finish them off with Mew at the end of the game. So that's an interesting concept, and I do like the idea of Lugia still in this format. I think it's still decent, but there was yet another Charizard in top 8 once again. We see it looks like it was the same 60 as we saw on the first place list, and we saw Rahul play. So yeah, there you go. Charizard dominated the Perth Regionals. There's a lot of them in top 8. More than half of the top 8 was Charizard, and a lot of them were playing the Regieleki technology. Now, this might, kind of play an impact in our future format in, the next regional. There was another Charizard, of course, in ninth place here. Just kind of a more traditional Tord build of the deck here. It does have that Eerie in the deck, however. And then we see another Lost Zone variant. This one is Lost Zone Radiant Charizard. So I do still like Radiant Charizard Lost Box. This one does play Entei in the deck. We've been seeing some of the Radiant Charizard lists incorporate stuff like Iron Hands in the deck, Mew EX. But this one kept it very straightforward, but does have that one of Entei V in the deck, which can attack, and also does give you a Forest Sealstone target, which is kind of nice. We got another Zard here. Of course, we see another Regieleki Zard, of course, because that's the power of the Regieleki. We got another Lugia deck here in top 16. So 2 different Lugias. This one does also have the Mew and the Snorlax. A bit of a different list than the one in top 8, but it is still another Lugia list nonetheless. There was another Moon and Dunsparce in top 8. This one does have or top 16, not top 8, sorry. Does have the Temple of Sinnoh, does have Thorn in the deck. Very interesting inclusion to play Thorn. Only 2 Moon EXs also, as opposed to just 3, which is interesting. There was an Iron Hands deck here in top 16. Iron Hands is still a very powerful and aggressive deck. Does suffer from consistency. Doesn't have the best Charizard matchup on the planet, but is still a strong deck nonetheless. And with all the Lugia that was running around here in the top 16, maybe it was not a bad deck at all. And then we got another Charizard Pidgeot list here in top 16. Once again, showing Pidgeot Charizard's dominance. And there was a Lost Tina to round out the top 16. A bit more of a vanilla build with the Greninjas, the Water Energy, and the Iron Leaves within the deck. So that was the top 16 at Perth, but as we scroll down, we do start to see some more interesting decks be seen. We got another Lost Tina here. Outside of top 16, another kind of just more straightforward vanilla list. But the big story is at Perth, I think, was everyone was looking at a Meowscarada deck. Yes, a Meowscarada EX deck got top 32 at the Perth Regionals. Now, this is kind of crazy. This actually, I think it's Meowscarada's first time in a day 2. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen a Meowscarada deck in day 2 at a tournament since Paldea Evolved release. Now, this is pretty crazy to see. This is a very straightforward Meowscarada list. It's just Meowscarada. There's a couple Bibarels in the deck. There's a Lumineon, there's an Alakazam, and a Manaphy. So it's a very straightforward build of Meowscarada. It does rely on Arvin and TM Evolution in the deck. I did a video recently on Meowscarada on the main channel. We were playing it with Bibarel and Pidgeot. I kind of took the Tordzard skeleton and just infused it into Meowscarada. And this is kind of the same concept here, just kind of, well, not the same concept, but it is playing Bibarel and TM Evo as opposed to the Pidgeot. We do see a TM Devo in the deck too, alongside the Evo. We have Master Ball in the deck. Master Ball Ace-Spec. It's a very interesting Ace-Spec card to see within Meowscarada. I mean, you could theoretically play Prime Catcher or Maximum Belt too, or even the Neo Upper Energy, but Master Ball, I guess, works too. It's a free way to find a Meowscarada. It's not a terrible card at all. Very cool stuff to see. How good is Meowscarada really? It's kind of the main question. Is it a fluke? Who knows? It did get all this way, which is pretty cool to see. There was a Lugia, once again, outside of the top 16. And this one does have Vitality Band in the deck and plays a Iron Bundle. No Mew or anything, just sticking to the Cinccino and the Snorlax. We see an Ancient Box deck here, which is cool. I like Ancient Box. Obviously, I did play it to Orlando. We'll talk more about Ancient Box when we get to Orlando, obviously, but it was cool to see one here. And this one does have a great Tusk within the deck. Does play the Penny Stone stuff. Got a Lugia here, once again, playing the Snorlax and the Mew. We see a very interesting Dialga list here. So Dialga Metang, definitely everyone's favorite deck, doing well still. I mean, it's still a very strong deck if it works. One thing I like about this list, actually plays one of Fluttermane in the deck. So interesting thing to play. You can play Fluttermane with this deck. It doesn't need any specific energy, so it does slow your opponent down. You can build it up pretty easily. Yeah, and really cool addition into the deck. I like the idea of a Fluttermane. But yeah, it's cool to see Dialga Metang still have these results. There's an Arctina here within day 2 at Perth. Pretty simple 60. Got 4 Judge, 2 Iono. Does play an Eerie. Does play Charon's Care over Turo's scenario, but there's no Snorlax at all within the day 2 here. We have our first Gardevoir at Perth here in day 2. Yeah, it looks pretty simple. It's got the Guardy stuff. It's got the Screamtail, the Drifloon, the Mimikyu. Playing the Hero's Cape Ace-Spec. Yeah, it looks kind of similar to what we've seen at EUIC at one of the highest placing Guardies. It was another Ancient Box deck here, playing at that Great Tusk once again. Actually, it looks like the same 60 as the one earlier. Another Charizard Pidgeot deck. Playing Hero's Cape and double TM Devo, so really kind of teching heavy for the mirror there. That's a lot of mirror techs to have for sure. A couple Lost Tinas we can quickly skim through. We see the Bayonet build here of Lost Tina, the one that Bradner played, and then of course we see another Lost Tina here, just more straightforward build. Not playing Iron Leaves though. It's definitely a very interesting inclusion not to have. There's another Arctina here. It's got double Judge. It's got a couple stadiums in it. It's got the League headquarters in Lost City. 4 Iono, 2 Judge. I guess we skimmed over another Pidgeysar deck here. Looks like more of the William build with the Max Belt, the TM Devo and stuff. and another ancient box, and looks like, yeah, it was like similar to the one we saw earlier. No penny in that one, though. And then finally, to round out day 2 at Perth, there was another future Iron Hands deck. So that was the Perth Regionals. Things to take away. Charizard dominated the regionals, and on top of that, they all were playing a Reggie Lecky in the deck, which is a very interesting inclusion. And could this be kind of the way to play Charizard going forward, even after the results at Orlando Regionals? Some other things to note: there was a Meowscarada in day 2. I know this tournament was a bit smaller. There's obviously a lot more Charizard, so that was probably a good thing here for Thomas on the Meowscarada deck. Still really cool to see Meowscarada in a day 2, though. All right, we can head on quickly into the Singapore one. There's not as many deck lists to look at, so quickly kind of go over these. The winning deck was Lost Tina. And this one did have some interesting spice in it. It was Lost Tina with Raikou and Iron Hands, so playing a lightning package to help a little bit against Charizard. Low-key, don't hate the idea of that. I mean, it's not a terrible idea. It's not like, I guess it hurts your consistency a little bit. You're playing 4 different energy types, including Jet Energy on top of that, so it can be a little inconsistent or whatever, but it is an interesting concept to still have lightning attackers in the deck, and it does help against Charizard. I mean, you have more aggression against the Pidgeot now when you have both Raikou and Iron Hands. There was a Charizard here in the second place spot. This one was a Bibzard deck, not playing the Pidgeot. It was a traditional Bibarel Charizard. It does play an Entei in the deck as another V Pokemon attacker. But yeah, it is interesting to see Bibzard still have these results. It was an Arctina in top 4 too. Pretty straightforward build, playing Judge, Iono. Nothing too crazy going on in this build of Arctina. And there's an Ancient box here in top 4 too. This one did have a Slitherwing and a Grant within the deck. So the Slitherwing does help a little bit against fighting weak Pokemon like Arceus and obviously the Iron Hands. And then it does have a Grant in the deck, which does allow you discard 2 cards from your hand to put it back in your hand. So you can play Grant kind of in the late game to thin out ancient cards in your hand to put in your discard pile, or you can also use it to let Slitherwing do a little bit more damage. So it's a really interesting concept to see Grant within the Ancient box deck. There's a future hands deck here in day 2. Also, this one does have a couple Judge in the deck, so and also plays Iron Leaves and Reboot Pod. So trying to be a little bit more disruptive, a little bit more tactical. It does have a couple Grass attackers to help against Charizard, and does play that Reboot Pod as the A-Spec over Prime Catcher, and has a couple Judge. That could be pretty annoying. Imagine getting judged and amped. That'd be pretty scary. Especially in the early stage of the game, like, that would be pretty annoying, actually. That would be a pretty interesting idea for sure. And then we got a Guardian top 8 here to look at. Playing the 2 Drifloon, 1 Screamtail, and no Mimikyu in the deck here. But just stick to the Drifloon, Screamtail, no Fluttermane, no Klefki. Just a very straightforward build of Guardy. Nothing too crazy with the tech attackers. It does have a Mew in the deck, however, though, as another attacker. There was a future box deck here in top 8. We just unfortunately don't have the list available yet. And there was another Lost Tina here, another kind of straightforward build. A couple more Charizards we can look at here. Ooh, there's another Charizard here with the Reggie Lecky in the deck. It was a Tord build, and it does have the Reggie Lecky. It does play TM Devo, and also has Hero's Cape in the deck as the A-Spec, also playing Eerie too. And then we got another Charizard here. Looks like it's just kind of the Tordzard build, just playing an Eerie within the deck. No Yells Cheer or anything, but yeah, just kind of Tordzard right there. But there you go. That is the most of the decks we have available right now for the Singapore Regional. The one thing to take note of, there was a future box deck in top 8. Unfortunately, we still don't have the list available for it quite yet. All right, moving on now to Orlando Regionals, the big one. We have a lot of decks to go over here, so we're going to quickly get through these. Now, we want to take a look at the deck that won the tournament, as it was the Tordzard deck that took down the tournament by Liam here. Liam Halliburton did take down the entire regional with Tord's build. It did have a difference, though. It's not plain... forget what it cut. There was one cut from the deck, but there is a second Charmeleon. That was the one change Liam made to Tord's 60, was he did add a second Charmeleon into the deck. Does help with double Turo a lot, and does also play the other Charmander too, the one that gets for the stadium for 1 energy. But yeah, Tordzard basically took down another regional, another major tournament, and it's looking pretty good for Charizard right now. I'm not going to lie, Charizard is a very powerful deck. I mean, it just won Perth, and it won Orlando. The future is looking bright for Charizard. The one big story, though, in top 8, I think, is really that we saw an Ancient Box deck nearly take down the entire tournament here. Jake Ura did get second place with his Ancient Box deck. Now, Ancient Box is a very strong deck. I played it myself. There are some interesting inclusions into the deck. There is that great Tusk in the deck. It can be very good in the late game to mill your opponent if they don't see it coming. Or you can also use the Fire Energy within the deck to attack with Shred with Koraidon, which can help a lot against Control. Gives you another attacker for your Koraidon. So very interesting inclusion to play the Fire and the Great Tusk. Also has a Lost Vacuum within the deck too to help get rid of tools. Very, very cool stuff. I like to see Ancient Box do well. I'm glad that it did perform well at Orlando, and I'm happy to see that it did get second place at the tournament. There was a Guardy deck here in top 4, piloted by Josh Frink, of course, on the Shuffle Squad, making it all the way to top 4 with Guardy. Guardy definitely ain't dead yet. I mean, Gardevoir has kind of been like, people are like, oh, this deck's still good, and it's been having good results. It almost got top 8 at EUIC. It did bubble at 9th. But Josh did a breakthrough top 8 at Orlando with Gardevoir. Getting all the way to top 4 of the deck is pretty crazy, and it was really cool to see Gardevoir in top 4, because the deck is still very much a real deck. It is not dead. It's very strong, and in my opinion, should still be respected. Of course, we had Reagan Retzloff here, one of the C-POW CEOs, playing the Shem-POW deck once again, piloting it with the Iron Hands, has the Iron Bundle. The one big difference in the deck, there is a Silene within the deck. It is very good to play Silene into an Eerie field. If you get Eerie, you can Silene back your resources. That's basically the idea behind playing the Silene within the Shem-POW deck. You can also use it as like a 5th Superior Retrieval in other scenarios, just to get more energy back or more resources. There was, of course, my boy Celio's Network here in top 8 with Charizard also. Looks like he's played a very similar 60 to what Liam played. Does have the double Charmeleon. There is only one Turo, but it is very similar to like the Tord list, obviously. Got the double Charmeleon in the deck. It's kind of the big technology, playing the Prime Catcher and stuff. But yeah, really cool to see Celio in top 8 here of Orlando with the Charizard deck. It was a Moon Dunsparce in top 8. It seems like this is a deck that just keeps getting into top 8, and we're probably going to continue to see Moon Dunsparce in top 8, because it's like the third time now. There's one in Perth also, so it seems like this Moon deck just keeps finding its way into the top 8 of these tournaments. There was a Tina in top 8. Not surprised to see that. There's so much Charizard this weekend. There's bound to be at least one Tina that did well. I predicted there was going to be a lot more Tina. There wasn't as many Tina as I thought. The one big difference in this Tina list, though, it's the vanilla list, but does play Thornton in the deck, though, which I think we saw on stream. Thornton kind of being able to, like, pop a Giratina V-Star out of nowhere. Back in the Lost Origin format, when Tina was also a good deck when it first came out, a lot of people were high on that Thornton idea within Tina, so it has kind of come back into the list. There's another Shem-POW here in top 8. Fabrizio playing Shem-POW also. Doesn't play the Silene, does have Iono on the deck, does play the Clone Prime Catcher stuff, Iron Bundle, and 3 candies and stuff like that. But there was 2 Shem-POW in top 8. Shem-POW had a really good tournament. That's mainly because there was so much Charizard, which Shem-POW, I think, can still struggle against Charizard. It's not obviously an auto win, but it is a little bit more favorable for Shem-POW, especially when you're a very good Shem-POW pilot. It makes sense to see why it did so well. All right, outside of the top 8, Cal unfortunately bubbling here with Gardevoir. There's almost 2 Gardevoirs in top 8 here at Orlando. We see Cal's build once again playing all of the different psychic attackers like the Drifloon, the Mimikyu, the Fluttermane, the Klefki, and of course the Screamtail being within the deck here. Also playing Eerie and all that stuff. So yeah, 2 Gardevoirs nearly making top 8. It's pretty crazy, considering a lot of people said the deck was dead. Very interesting Lost Box deck here in top 16, piloted by Hunter Butler. Playing the very cool attackers of Groudon, Raikou, Shaman, Iron Hand. So there's no Roaring Moon, no Hoopa. The fighting attacker of choice was that Groudon, which does allow you to discard up to 4 energy from your Pokemon, doing 60 damage for each energy discarded in this way. So in total, you can do 240 damage with Groudon. You do have to commit like either double Mirage Gate to it or stuff. So it's a little bit to commit to the Groudon, but it is really cool to see Groudon doing this well within Lost Box. I've been experimenting with Groudon before. I think before rotation, I was very close to doing a video on a Groudon Celebrations Kyogre deck, because it was like, it's a Kyogre Groudon deck. Woo, cool. I just never got around doing that video before rotation hit, but it was a video idea I had in mind, so it is cool to see a Lost Zone Groudon do well. Playing Shaman in the deck to help against Charizard. Shaman's pretty easy to build up. Literally just Mirage Gate to it. It only works more in the later half of the game, though, against Charizard, but that's where, like, the Raikou come in handy. Really cool Lost Zone pile doing well in this tournament. It's awesome to see, of course. And then, of course, we got my boy Sahashi here in top 16 with the Arc Tina deck. Now, the big thing with the Arc Tina deck that my crew played was going to be the trekking shoes. As you can see below here, you can see all the people that were, playing the deck list. All of them made day 2. So I was hanging out rooming with all these people in day 2 at this list, and they all played it, and they were working on this deck for quite a while. They put a lot of time and work into crafting the Arc Tina deck, and it was really cool to see them all making day 2 with the Arc Tina 60. Really cool stuff. Just want to give a big shout out to my crew there. All of them playing at the deck list here. Sashi, Anil, Jeff, Mario, and Justin, all getting day 2 with this Arctina 60. And then, yeah, the big technology was playing that Trekking Shoes. Just make your deck more consistent. Fine Energy Arceus turn 1. Even playing 4-4 Arceus, just max consistency. Because Arceus at the end of the day is a very strong deck, but you got to get that turn energy attachment. And to do that, having Trekking Shoes does go a long way. Sashi managing to get the deck all the way to a top 16 placement. And then, of course, another Arctina here, piloted by Joe Turrentine. So there's 2 Arctinas in top 16, basically giving the deck a new breath of life, doing a lot better than it did at EUIC, which is really cool to see. Joe's build is obviously a bit different, no trekking shoes. Does play 3 Lost City, which can be really good against a lot of archetypes like Gardevoir, Ancient Box, stuff like that. Very annoying card. Obviously, really good against Shenpao. You can literally knock out 2 Baxcaliburs, and the game will end on the spot because your opponent doesn't play 3 Baxcalibur anymore. So that's kind of the idea behind the triple Lost City. And then there's another Charizard in top 16. Of course, William getting all the way to top 16. Played a very similar 60 to what he played at EYC. It looks like, but yeah, William getting top 16 once again. Having a pretty good performance so far with Charizard this season. And then we got another future Iron Hands here in top 16. Not playing anything spicy, no Crisis Punch, no Iron Leaves. Just a more straightforward build of the deck. But sometimes just being a straightforward, consistent list will get you there. We got another Zard here in top 16. Looks like another Tord Zard. Playing the Hero's Cape, however, within the deck. Again, Hero's Cape was a pretty interesting inclusion within Charizard this weekend. I did play against the Hero's Cape Charizard deck, so it's not fun when your opponent's Charizard has so much health, 430 HP, cool stuff. But yeah, Hero's Cape definitely is an interesting aspect to play within Charizard. We'll have to see how much more play that sees going forward. And there's another Shenpao in top 16. Again, no surprise. Shenpao was a decent call for this tournament just because of how much Charizard there naturally was. Another Charizard here in top 32, of course. Looks like another, more Tord Zard list. Playing Palpad over Yell's Cheer. We got G-Shen with the Shenpao list once again. Playing the same 60 as Reagan, it looks like, with the Silene within the deck. We got Zach Lesage with the Lugia deck. So Lugia getting top 32. And this is the second top 32 Lugia's gotten here, both at EUIC and Orlando. So the deck definitely is real. It's legit. We just, kind of can't see the deck go any higher. But I do think eventually we'll see a Lugia within top 8. I think we're just waiting for that right moment. Well, we got top 8 in Perth, but I'm talking like a top 8 in, a bigger regional, like Orlando, right? Where it had, 2,000 players in it. But yeah, Lugia, very strong archetype, obviously, and still works. I mean, it's still not bad against Charizard either. The one thing it worries about, obviously, is the future hands deck, and potentially Gardevoir is not a great matchup either. Got a Charizard here at 20th place. Looks like it's a Bibzard deck with a 1/1 Pidgeot. So instead of playing 2/2 Pidgeot and 1/1 Bib, it's 2 Bibarel and then 1/1 Pidgeot. That's interesting. Let's see here. We got another interesting list here. In top 32, we got Dialga Matang. So, yeah, Dialga Matang believers rise up. Another Dialga Matang run here. And this one actually got top 32. This, I think, is the best performing Dialga Matang deck we've seen so far in its run at these 3 regionals we've looked at. That's cool to see. Happy to see Dialga Matang do well. We've got a couple of future hands decks here to look at. Quickly kind of skim through these. Yeah, pretty similar 60s. This future hand does have that TM Devo in the deck to help against Charizard a little bit more. There's an Arc Armor Rouge deck in top 32. I'm not surprised to see this. This deck is still very powerful. Still has a lot of, things going for it. It wasn't even a bad call for the tournament. I think the one thing you probably want to dodge, obviously, is Shenpao wouldn't be the best matchup for this deck. If you dodge all the Shenpao, you're probably chilling. And, yeah, seems like it was still a cool call. Regardless, definitely a deck I'm interested in maybe trying out someday, but I like to see Arc Armor Rouge do well. Really happy about that. And did get top 32. We got another Shenpao here once again, playing the Silene. Within that 60, we got another Charizard here, playing the Tord build with the Hero's Cape in the deck for the technology. We got a Lost Tina, very vanilla Lost Tina list once again, but Lost Tina, just not a bad play for this tournament. I was surprised to not see as many Lost Tinas. I thought there was going to be a lot more coming off of EUIC. There just wasn't, which was kind of crazy to see. We got another Charizard here, playing a Prime Catcher Yell's Cheer. Looks like, yeah, just kind of the Tord 60. We got our first Lost Box here to look at. This one's a bit different than the other Lost Box build. It's not playing the Shaman and the Groudon. Does kind of keep it simple with the Roaring Moon, the Raikou, the Hands, Mew, Hoopa Engine. Play some Pokestop in the deck over any Artisan, which is a bit of a different take on there. And then we got our first Snorlax here in top 32. So at least one Snorlax made top 32. And this isn't terrible for Snorlax. I think one thing with Snorlax for this tournament was that it was a little bit worse for the tournament, I think. But with how popular there was more Shenpao, and obviously a little bit more into how Charizard was cutting down to one Turo, does play a bigger of a role for the Snorlax. Now we'll have to see if that Regieleki build starts to impact over here, because Regieleki does do a lot of work against Snorlax also. Love to see how that all pans out in the future, but I'm not surprised to see at least one Snorlax in top 32. Snorlax did do better than Pidgeot Control this weekend, which is interesting. We got a Sablezard here in top 32. This one does have a bit more of a older style, playing the Roaring Moon in the deck as the backup attacker. Does also have Snorlax in deck too, kind of going back to the Snorlax within Lost Zone 2. Snorlax isn't terrible, does obviously help against Tina, can be really good in the mirror match. Does have Crisis Punch. Yeah, I like it. I like the idea of Sablezard still. There was a Charizard in top 32 once again. Just a straightforward Pidgey build, not playing Bibarel, just kind of more straightforward. Does have the Mist Energy in the deck, and the TM Devo and the Max Belt as the Ace Spec and the choice. Then we got Rowan here, unfortunately bubbling out of top 32 with the Tord Zard list. No Yell Cheers in the deck, but still taking that simple idea of what Tord played. Does have the double Charmeleon split though, which I think is the big difference. We got Eric from Rare Candy here getting almost top 32 with Lugia also. So yeah, Lugia doing still pretty good. I mean, a couple Lugias, one in top 32, one outside top 32. The deck is still performing really well. It's just not breaking through the top 8. But I do think eventually, probably before the next set, to be honest, we're going to see a Lugia within top 8. The deck will probably get better next set when we get the Ursaluna EX. But yeah, really cool stuff seeing Lugia do well. I think it's still kind of at this point, it might even be like a sleeper deck of the format. I think a lot of people are like, think about Lugia now. It's like, you got Tina, Zard, Lost Box, Gardevoir even, Shempao. And then it's like, you think of Lugia, it's like, Lugia sucks. It's not a real deck. Lugia's not real. We're still seeing these Lugias getting these top 32, near top 32 runs. So who knows? We got a Charizard list here playing a one of Delphox V. So that's definitely spicy to see. Gets a lot of people off guard. Sometimes you can win games. Some lists don't even play Manaphy, so you can still use it. And then, of course, there was an Ancient Box here in the Day 2. I'm really happy to see some Ancient Box in Day 2. Like I said, it got second place. It almost won the tournament. It did obviously hit a very unfortunate matchup there in the double Turo Charizard deck, because that's really tough to deal with, but Ancient Box was still a good call for the tournament, in my opinion. This Ancient Box build does play Prime Catcher and Trekking Shoes in the deck over playing the Awakening Drum. Now Lugia here, like I said, Lugia is still a very strong deck to look at. We got Azul with the Tina list. Ran it back with Tina, looks like, and he did play the Water Energy once again. Just kept it very simple. And yeah, we got another Lugia, once again, just straightforward Lugia build, playing the Snorlax, 3-3 Lugia. And then, of course, we got a couple Lost Zone variants to look at. We got Gibson Archer Tag with the Roaring Moon, a Radiant Charizard. Kind of going back to the old version of the Radiant Charizard Roaring Moon deck, like I said, of last format. Playing a Minior in the deck and a Mew EX. I like the technology. I'm always happy to see these Lost Zone decks do well. And like I said, Radiant Charizard Lost Box isn't a bad deck. We got another Lost Box deck here piloted by Blake Ray on the Shuffle Squad. Playing, again, the similar package of stuff of the Moon, the Raikou, the Hands, Hoopa, Mew stuff. And then we got another Sablezard list here. This one does have a little bit more going on, as you can see if it wants to load. This one does have a lot going on. It's got Mew in the deck, double Cobalion. Now, of course, Cobalion does allow you to do more damage against Charizard EX. What you can do with Cobalion, you can use it with Mew at the end of the game. You can also use Cobalion with Radiant Charizard at the end of the game. If you play Cobalion Charizard with a Crisis Punch, you can do some big damage. Or you can use Crisis Punch with Cobalion in general against Charizard. If you bench 2 Cobalions against Charizard at the end of the game, you can Crisis Punch for a knockout against Charizard, which is really cool. So really trying to capitalize on just being able to blow up a Charizard at the end of the game. It does also have a Flutter Mane in the deck, another interesting card you can play within Lost Zone decks. There is, of course, an Espathra here in top 64. Espathra isn't a bad deck. I unfortunately didn't hit one in my tournament. Obviously not a great matchup for Ancient Box, but Espathra is still a good deck. It still has its advantage against Charizard, especially when there's so much at this tournament. There's the Bayonet, which can be really good against Shempao, which there also happen to be a lot of Shempao this tournament. Of course, you do have the Hero's Cape, the Rigid Band. Just very annoying cards to deal with within this Espathra Zatu deck here. Another Seapow, doing pretty good. This one does have some technology. It's got the Tomb. It's got the Ditto. It does have an Arctibax in deck. Really good against the Team Devo and stuff, obviously. We got a Arctina here once again by Anil. Again, same 60 as all my friends, playing in the 4 of Trekking Shoes. We got another Seapow by Kieran Farr. Actually, really funny that Kieran and Neil were back-to-back on the thing here because they run a podcast together, which I've been featured on. Make sure to go check out the Shift Gear podcast. I've been on some of their episodes. But yeah, Kieran playing the Seapow. Kieran likes his Shempao, so there you go. We got a Roaring Moon. This one was a bit of a different Roaring Moon. We do see some interesting stuff going on. It was kind of like an Ancient Box-style deck because there was some other attackers like Flutter Mane. There was Great Tusk in the deck. There was the 2 Mooney X's, the 4-4 Sod Explorer split, but there was also the 1-1 Bibarel in the deck for a Draw Engine. I kind of like the idea of that. I've thought about playing Bibarel with an Ancient Box. I mean, obviously the deck's kind of issues can sometimes be consistency, but then having the one of Bibarel can help you with that. Is it better than playing Dunsparce, though? Not too sure, because then you have to run more switches to move your Bibarel out. Then we got another Shempao here with the Silene again, same 60s what Regan played. And then we got another Lost Tina, another kind of more straightforward vanilla build of the deck. We got a Lost Box deck here. Once again, it's the, kind of traditional build, but it does have that one of Cobalion to help a little bit against Charizard. Again, you can kind of use Cobalion with Mew kind of to close the games out, which is really strong against Charizard. And Lugia in top 64. Like I said, Lugia, very strong deck. Don't sleep on it. And we got Tord. Tord still got top 64 with his deck. I think he just played the exact same 60 that he played in Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he played the exact same 60. He played the EUIC. That's pretty cool. We got another Moon deck here, another Turbo Roaring Moon. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Yeah, Roaring Moon Turbo, definitely a really interesting idea still in this format. Is it as good as past format? Not as fast and aggressive, no, because you don't have Battle VIP anymore. But it's still a very powerful archetype. Moon is still a very aggressive card to deal with, and it's still got top 64. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. We got Pedro here, Patusi playing the Charizard. Looks like he's just kind of same 60, kind of what William played. Does have the Mist Energy in the deck, however. I guess actually it's also a little bit different. Actually, I lied, but does have Mist Energy in the deck, which, most artists weren't really teching for Mist Energy with the TM Devo stuff. We got another Tina here with the Bayonet in the deck, so once again, the Isaiah Bradner group build of the deck. We got a couple of Dunsparce Roaring Moons here in top 64. We got one, and then we got another Dunsparce Roaring Moon 2 back-to-back. So, like I said, still a very strong deck. Cool to see it do this well. We got another Lost Tina in top 64. Once again, just more straightforward stuff. We got another Lost Box deck. Now, this one is another interesting build. Now, we looked at this, I think, in EUIC, but it's like this Miraidon EX build of Lost Box. Now, the idea of the deck is Miraidon gets you all these lightning Pokemon like Rotom, Iron Hands, Raikou, gets you Zapdos. Miraidon can also be a decent attacker within Lost Box. It does do 220 damage. Of course, there's the Pogo Zapdos in the deck to let you do even more damage. It's a very interesting concept of Lost Box for sure. I mean, Miraidon Lost Zone is a deck I don't think anyone would have expected. So I don't know, maybe I'll look at it for a future YouTube video. So there are some interesting things going on with the deck because it also plays Oranguru. It's more of a lightning box deck, but it's cool to kind of blend together the idea of Miraidon with Lost Zone Engine. Another Dialga here in top 64, it looks like. So 2 Dialgas doing good in this tournament. 1 in top 32, 1 in top 64. Another Ancient Box here. Like I said, Ancient Box, really strong deck. Got a Future Hands deck here, doing pretty good with the Crisis Punch, kind of like what Yuho played, of course. And then we got Ethan Hegster himself with the Guardy deck here. Once again, playing all the different attackers, the Drifloon, the Screamtail, the Mimikyu, got the Klefki in the deck, got the Fluttermane, stuff like that in there too. Another Zard here. Once again, just kind of the Toward Zard build. Does have some technology, is playing the Turo, the Eerie, no Yells Cheer. Does have Mist Energy in the deck too, and the TM Devo. We got a Goldengo here in day 2. I'm happy to see Goldengo still do well. Yeah, pretty happy to see Goldengo do well. This build does have the Cypher Maniacs, the Roxanne, Iono, Morty's Conviction. The one thing to note about Goldengo is, you might want to play some kind of recovery to get back your energy, but I do still like Goldengo doing well. It does have 4 superior retrievals and 2 energy retrievals. It does have the Palkia in the deck, still leaning into the Palkia. Really cool to see that in day 2. I did skim over an Arctina here by Jeff Chow. I gotta mention the Arctina once again with the 4 shoes, the crew. Gotta mention that. And then, of course, another Zard here to look at. Pretty much just Toward Zard list. Yeah, it looks like it's just the exact 60 of Toward. Another Shempao here in day 2. Playing 4 rare candies. So, again, trying to play a little bit more around at the TM Devos and the Eries with the 4 rare candies. Another Lost Tina here to look at. Then we got another Future Hands, just more straightforward build. Plays at Erica and the Crisis Punch. So we did see that kind of at UIC, playing the Erica and stuff. We got another Guardy here. Once again, playing the attackers. Does have a Champs Festival in the deck to heal. And then obviously you do have the 4 different kind of Pokemon to choose from for your engine. And then there is also another Charizard in day 2. Like I said, a lot of Charizard in day 2. Charizard dominated Orlando Regionals. Interesting at Future Hands deck. Playing the Iron Leaves tech card, like I said, does help a little bit against Charizard because, of course, you can build up Iron Leaves out of nowhere, and then Iron Leaves can come in, take a big knockout on a Charizard. Yeah, like you can go Iron Hands early on, take 2 prizes. With the Heavy Baton, you can save the energy and then kind of come in, clean up with the Iron Leaves. There you go. Another Guardy here doing pretty good. Bit more of a straightforward build, just playing the Drifloon and the Screamtail. Does have the Fluttermane, also has the Gallade back in the deck here, it looks like. And then we got a couple Shempaos here, just back-to-back Shempaos. Quickly look at them here. This one does have, 1-1 Arceus. That's interesting. We haven't really seen Arceus and Shempao in quite a while. So that's cool. And we got another control deck here in day 2. So yeah, Snorlax did better than Pidgeot control, which is very interesting to see. I don't know if there was any Pidgeot controls in day 2. I imagine there was. No, there definitely was. But there was a Snorlax in day 2 once again, so. We got another Lost Zone deck. This is a really cool one, piloted by Xander Perot, playing a future Lost Zone deck. So it does have a lot of future things going on. It's got Iron Valiant, it's got Iron Hands, does have Iron Crown in the deck, almost like Cobalion. Iron Crown in the deck here to let you do more damage. Does have that Shaman V in the deck, also another really good grass attacker against Charizard. Plays super effective glasses too. This probably allows you to take big KOs with Iron Hands against Pidgeot. Does also have that Minior in the deck for the Snorlax and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. Very interesting Lost Zone deck. This is what I like about Lost Zone, man. Like, you just make these really cool decks. Like, that's 3 different Lost Zone decks we've seen this weekend that have been very unique. It's not just like the traditional builds we've been seeing. There was one with Groudon, Shaman. There's this future build, and then there's the Miraidon Lost Zone deck. Like I said, there's a lot of really cool things you can do with Lost Box. We got Chien-Pao once again here with 4 candies. We got, here we go. We got a Pidgeot control here doing pretty good. Now, this was the Wigglytuff Cloth build. Now, I'm pretty sure this actually might have been all-out Blitzel himself. Because I know he did get day 2. I think I saw him at one point. But yeah, all-out Blitzel. I think this might be all-out Blitzel. I'm not too sure on that one. But all-out Blitzel is kind of the master of the Wigglytuff control deck. He has been running the online tournament scene with the deck. And he did end up getting day 2 at Orlando with the Wigglytuff Pidgeot control, being the highest placing Pidgeot control deck in Orlando. Like I said, Snorlax control did better than Pidgeot, but Pidgeot was still a very strong deck. Like I said, if you're really good with the deck, you know how to play, you know your matchups and stuff like that, the deck can be a very good play because it's very hard to pilot, and it can be very hard to play against too, especially when the pilot is so good. Yeah, cool stuff, cool stuff. Another Charizard, Bibzard deck here looks like just more straightforward of the Bibzard playing the 2 Charmeleon. Spiritomb in the deck too is very interesting. I guess it's really good in Mirror, obviously. Can be good against Control too. We got a Tina here in day 2. More straightforward build of Tina. We got another Chien-Pao here, playing 3 candies, 1 Iono, just kind of more straightforward stuff. Another Future Hand stack playing the Crisis Punch in the deck to help against Zard a little bit more. Some interesting stuff here. We got another Arc Armarouge to look at. This one does have a Judge in the deck. It's not the same 60 as what we saw at UIC, but it does have that one of Judge for some extra disruption. And then, of course, there was another Lugia here, once again. And then there was an Arc Goodra deck piloted by Israel Sosa. This Israel Sosa has always been on the rogue side, and he did play a very cool Arc Goodra deck to Orlando. Goodra's not a bad card. I mean, Rolling Iron can be very powerful, making your opponent do less damage. Does have that Heroes cape in the deck, too. It's got TM Devo, has Mist Energy to really help against the Roaring Moon decks. Really cool idea. So I'm actually happy to see this Arc Goodra deck do so well. I think it's a very strong archetype. I mean, Goodra in general is really good. We did see it win EUIC in this Juniors division. So, like, Goodra's still, like, an underrated card right now. We're just kind of figuring out the best way to play it. Is it Lost Zone? Could it be with Arceus? Who knows? But still cool to see. We got another Ancient Box deck here doing pretty good in the tournament. We got another Lost Tina here by Grant Manley. Once again, played the same 60 as what Azul played. Now, interesting stuff, there was a Miraidon in day 2. So Miraidon ain't dead yet. Now, this one does have a lot of high-rolly cards in the deck. We do see Miraidon still playing the hands, the Raichu, plays a Copalion on the deck, double Mew also, but does have some interesting inclusions. So we have the generators. There's also energy sticker within the deck. This is kind of your one way to get energy in play. Now, it's on a coin flip, but you can put a basic energy from discard pile onto one of your bench basic Pokemon. So you can use energy sticker to build up your Pokemon on the bench. It's not as good as Flaffy or anything, but it is a way to get energy in play. And when you can high roll those heads, it's pretty good. And there's also Pokemon Catcher within the deck too for some extra gusts. So yeah, cool to see him Miraidon in day 2. We got another Lost Zone pile just playing the moons, the Hoopa and stuff. Another Pidgeot here to look at. Another Pidgeot control with the Wigglytuff and stuff. So yeah, it's cool to see Pidgeot do so well still. Let's see here. We also got Arc Tina, piloted by my boy Mario. Once again, within the group of the 4 of Trekking Shoes build. I think we skipped over a Charizard. Yeah, we did skip over a Charizard. It's another kind of just more, towards our build with the Eerie and stuff like that in the maximum build. A couple Lost Zones back to back. We see Victor here playing, the future build of the Lost Zone deck that we saw earlier with Xander. We got another Lost Zone here, just more traditional Lost Zone. One difference is there's a Sephiroth Maniac in the deck here, which does synergize nicely with Comfy and Greninja. So that's really cool to see. It's an interesting inclusion within Lost Zone for sure. Now Lugia here in day 2. We got another Zard we can quickly run over. We'll probably just kind of skim through a lot of the Zards and stuff because they're all going to be very similar. We got another one of these Miraidon Lost Zones in day 2. It's a very interesting archetype. Like I said, very, very cool way to play Lost Zone. This actually might be the best way to play Miraidon actually right now in all honesty, which is kind of a cool thing to see. Yeah, cool stuff, cool stuff. Another Zard. Looks like it was another Bibzard deck. Cool stuff. Let's see here. We got another Zard. We'll quickly go through that with Sammy with the Zard. I play against Sammy in day 2. Playing the Hero's Cape in the deck. Very strong inclusion. Let's see. We got a Moon to Dunsparce. Cool stuff, cool stuff. Now Lost Zone pile here. Yeah, it was another future build of this Lost Zone. Yeah, really cool ideas. So yeah, a lot of cool ways to play Lost Zone this weekend. If you're somebody who likes to play Lost Box, definitely check out some of these Lost Zone piles from day 2. Cool stuff. We got Lugia once again. I keep saying cool stuff, by the way. I know I gotta stop being such an NPC and saying the same stuff. We got Vulcan Turtle with the Ancient Box deck, playing the Fire Energy in the deck for that one technology piece for your Koraidon. One interesting thing, too, only playing 3 Explorer's Guidance as opposed to 4. Got another Lugia here, once again. There's another Lugia below that. Let's see. Yep, another Lugia. Interesting, all the Lugias we looked at haven't been playing the Mew and stuff that we saw from Perth, so we'll see on that one. Of course, we got another Charizard. Ooh, it's got the Delphox V in the deck as that sneaky tech card. We got another Future Box here with the Crisis Punch. We got another Snorlax in day 2. Yeah, another just kind of straightforward Snorlax list, it looks like. Ooh, actually, wait, I lied. It's the Sandshrew build. Yeah, okay. My friend at Fortnite did play the Sandshrew within the deck. Sandshrew is really interesting. So, trainer cards in your opponent's discard pile cannot be put in the deck by effects of opponent's items or supporters. So, you stop Silene, you stop Palpat, and Yell's Cheer. So, it's a very interesting anti-recovery card, and this could be a very cool card to look at going forward within control archetypes. There was a Lost Zone Goo in day 2, really cool stuff. Yeah, it does have some differences from the Juniors Division build from a UIC, but it does have Sableye and Mew in the deck. I do like the additional attackers, obviously. And like I said, Goodra can still be a very strong card in our meta. We got another Moon here, another just kind of, it's another Turbo Moon deck. We got another Arctina, once again, playing just the 3 Judge and stuff, the 1 Eerie, just more disruption, focus package. There was a very interesting Future Box here in day 2. Like I said, we haven't seen the Future Box from the Singapore Regionals, I think it was. The one we looked at earlier, we haven't been able to see that list yet, but it could be similar to this with the 3 of Iron Leaf, the 2 of Iron Hands, just kind of leaning more into like the leaves and the hands in this build. Another Goldengo in day 2, I'd love to see it. It was another Palkia build also, playing the Silene in the deck. I like the idea of Silene and Goldengo, just again, being able to recover your superior retrievals that get Eerie is really good. Got another Lost Tina and another Charizard. Like I said, let's quickly look at that. A lot of the Charizards are going to be very similar. Another Future Hands. And then we got another interesting build. We got a Makani Tran playing the Arc Pidgeot box deck here. So it's got Arc Pidgeot with Regigigas and also playing a Vulpix. The idea of Arc Pidgeot I think is really powerful in general. Like, not even just played it with like these different Pokemon, but the concept of Arc Pidgeot is very strong. And I think maybe if more people can kind of look into that idea of Arc Pidgeot, there could be some really cool Arc Pidgeot decks to pop out. And there definitely are a lot of innovations you can make with the deck. I really like the idea of Arc Pidgeot. It's really cool to see Makani innovate with the Arc deck, because Makani is one of the Arc innovators, I would say. Got another Guardy here. Interesting, we got another Future Hands with the 2 of Iron Leaves. And then one big thing to note, there is a Great Tusk Mill within day 2. It's actually Great Tusk Mill with the Dunsparce. So that's a really interesting draw engine for the deck. It's a really interesting concept. I mean, Great Tusk definitely can falter sometimes to bricking. I was able to beat a Great Tusk in day 1 because in the latter half of game 2 and 3, their deck started running out of steam and they were struggling to find supporters and stuff. And the Dunsparce can really help kind of keep up the momentum of the deck. So I really like the idea of Dunsparce Great Tusk. Actually might be optimal in all honesty, like thinking about it. It seems really, really good. Yeah, it does seem really, really good within the deck. Let's see here. We got another Goldengo in day 2. So quite a few Goldengo in day 2. And this one doesn't have Palkia, but it's to play Scizor and Dunsparce. I've seen this idea of like Goldengo Dunsparce before in some online tourneys. It's an interesting concept. You can draw a lot of cards with Dunsparce. It does go hand in hand with coin bonus. It does also help you play around Iono, which can be pretty annoying for Goldengo, even with your ability. And then the Scizor being that nice one-prize attacker. No Palkias or anything in the deck. No shenanigans. A couple Future Boxes here to look at real quick here. Or Future Hands, I should say, not Future Boxes. That one had Erica. That one had Crisis Punch. Sablezard, once again, my boy Raymond playing the deck. Does have a lot of attackers in the deck, though. It's kind of like I guess it's actually it's kind of a combination of like Lost Zone box with all the different attackers of Moon, Hands, Raikou, Mew. But it does also have the Radiant Charizard in the deck, too. So that's cool. That's cool. And we got another Lugia here. And we got another C-Pow. Look at that. Boom, C-Pow technology. And look at that. We got LDF himself with Ancient Box. Yeah, like I said, if you want to hear my term report on Ancient Box, definitely go check out the second channel video. But yeah, like I said, I played the Cobalion on the deck top against Charizard. Played 7 Dark, 1 Fighting in the deck, 2 as opposed to 2 Fighting or anything. I didn't play the Fire Energy. I didn't think it was really necessary, to be honest. But yeah, I'm happy to make day 2 of the deck. Got another Lost Tina below me, and then we got another Lost Tina back-to-back. Like I said, I'm surprised to see not as much Lost Tina do as well. Got another Zard with Delphox. Cool stuff. Let's see, we got another C-Pow with the Iron Hands. Got the Iono in the deck. And then we got another Moon Dunsparce here. Cool stuff. Moon Dunsparce, really interesting deck. Like to see it do well. Another Ancient Box playing at the Great Tusk in the deck and the Fire Energy. Like I said, I didn't play that technology, but it's cool to see the technology nonetheless. Another Pidgeysard with the Mist Energy in the deck. I like the idea of Mist Energy right now. I mean, nobody was really, like, the Zard decks playing the Team Diva weren't teching for it. Another Arctina. Like I said, Arctina still doing pretty good. Another Espathra Zatu deck. I think this might have been the person I actually played against within day one. Yeah, Matthew Nix. I did play against them in round 3, and I did lose to them. They did the double Klefki. I like the idea of Klefki actually to kind of slow the opponent down. You have some setup potential with Klefki to slow your opponent down, and then you have, of course, the Cleffa in the deck. So you got some Klefki, and then you got the Cleffa. Haha, get it? Yeah, I like to see it. Spathra's a cool deck, man. I'm happy to see a couple in day 2. Another future box in day 2 here. Once again, playing the Leaves and the Hands. So that's the 2 main attackers. Then we got another Lost Tina with the TM Devo in the deck. Ooh, interesting. I didn't even notice that. There was another Ancient box here. Another just more straightforward build of the deck. Another future box deck. Playing the one of Minior, the deck is really interesting to see within the deck. Another Lugia playing the one of Fluttermane. That's something interesting we've been seeing in the online tourneys, was like Fluttermane going in the Ancient box deck. Another Sablezard playing Minior in hands. That's cool. Yeah, you can kind of mix up the attackers you play in the Sablezard. That's what I like about it. Okay, we'll look here. We got a Zard. Arc Armor Rouge below that. So yeah, a couple more Arc Armor Rouges in day 2. Looks like it's the same 60 as what we saw at EYC. So that's cool to see. Like I said, Armor Rouge, definitely cool deck. Another Pidgeysard here. Looks like, yeah, kind of the tour build. We got another future box. Now, one big thing from this weekend was actually the Regidrago Arc deck getting day 2. This might be one of Regidrago's first day 2s, maybe ever. I feel like it's gone day 2 before, but maybe the first ever day 2 ever. But I'm happy to see it. Actually, the person that played this did come up to me and was talking to me about the deck. I'm really happy to see Regidrago Arc at day 2. It's a deck that I've been interested in trying out on the channel. It's like a Regidrago video, so I'm definitely working on getting another Regidrago video out. Did get some new dragons. You can play the new Koraidon in the deck. You can see the new single price Koraidon. You can also play Koraidon EX in the deck too. So some interesting stuff you can put within your Arc Regidrago deck. And I'm happy to see it get day 2. These Arc piles are always really cool to see. Another Shempow with the Silene Iona. There's a lot more technology in that. Another future deck playing the Raikou as an attacker. That's interesting to see. Raikou isn't bad. I mean, you can't boost it damage, obviously, but it's cool. Another interesting thing, we finally got a Raging Bolt within day 2. So Raging Bolt did not get a day 2 placement at EUIC, and that did surprise me. But finally here at Orlando, we see a Raging Bolt in day 2. It's actually piloted by Dom, who's on the Shovel Squad, playing a Lost Zone version. And I did play against a Lost Zone build of Raging Bolt in day 1. So it is cool to see Lost Zone Bolt do well. There's so many ways you can play Raging Bolt, and it's cool to see. It's actually 2 Raging Bolts in day 2. We'll quickly go through that. I'll click on these real quick, and then, yeah, we got another Lost Zone, or another Raging Bolt in day 2. This one was the Sandy Shocks build, so it's a bit more of a turbo approach, just more traditional build. No Lost Zone, no Palkia or anything like that. But yeah, really cool to see a couple Raging Bolts within day 2. It's a deck that I still like. I think it's decent still, so it's nice to see it in day 2. A couple of Shempows. Got Jarrett Grimes, of course, one of the main Shempow pilots in the format. Then we got another Shempow here playing the Silene within the deck. Go Arctina here real quick. Yeah, let's skim through some of these decks real quick. I'm sure we've kind of seen them all before. We got a Lugia with the Luxray in the deck. Good in mirror, good against, obviously, Charizard to take out Pidgeot. Another Guardy deck playing in the Klefki Tail, double Drifloon playing the Mew in the deck too. Interesting inclusions. Another Lost Tina. We'll go through that real quick. Got another Pidgeot. Charizard deck. Another Snorlax in day 2. So yeah, there was a couple Pidgeot controls, but there was more Snorlax control. As I say that, there's another Pidgeot control below it. I lied. Is it the same as Alessandro's? No, it's not the same as the EUIC list, but it does have some differences. It's got the Cloth in the deck. I don't think Alessandro played that in his build. Cloth is good against Charizard, because every time they attack you with Charizard into the Cloth, they have to discard energy, and if they're not playing at the Maximum Belt, which some of us don't, they can't one-shot the Cloth with Charizard, and then you can just run them out of energy that way. Now, Lugia with a Fluttermane. We got another Snorlax control within day 2. Then we got another Shempow list here with 4 candies. Then we got Ostina. We got another Pidgeysard here with the Mist Energy. And we got another Zatu Espathra in day 2. So yeah, a couple of Espathras in day 2. Not surprised to see that. Again, there's a lot of Charizard that did well in this tournament. And we got another Ancient box. Playing Luminous Energy is interesting. Another Arctina within day 2 with the Aerodactyl. I've thought about Aerodactyl and Arctina. It does help against Shempow. Can be good in the mirror match. Just good against future hands too if you need another fighting attacker. And can come up against Lugia if you can pull off that play at all. Another Heroes Cape Charizard list. Another Snorlax control. Let's see here. We got a couple more Shempows back to back. We'll quickly skim through these. This video's been going on for a while, so we'll quickly kind of go through some of these decks here real quick. See if there's anything interesting. Another Miraidon in day 2. 2 Miraidon in day 2. Who would have thought there was Lost Zone Miraidon and then more traditional Miraidon? No energy sticker within this Miraidon build, though. Interesting stuff. All right, we got another Arctina. Let's check it out. Yeah, more straightforward build of Arctina. No Lugia. Let's see here. A couple more Shempows back to back. A lot of Shempow in day 2. Like I said, it wasn't a bad meta call for the tournament. This one's got the Kyogre in the deck. Look at that. Another Ancient Box with the Great Tusk in the deck. Another Charizard Pidgeot, obviously, doing pretty good because Charizard's broken. And we got another Tina. I guess above that, sorry, we had an Arc Armor Rouge deck here. Yeah, another, looks like same 60 as what we saw to UIC. Yeah, a couple Arc Armor Rouges in day 2. Love to see it. Got another deck here. Same thing when Makani played here with the Pidgeot Arc deck. Again, a lot of innovation can be made with the idea of Pidgeot Arceus. Something I'm going to look at for a potential video down the road. A couple more moons here. We got my boy Vince with the Moon deck in day 2. Another Arctina. Let's see, we got another Zard here. Bibzard. Bibzard, pretty good. And yeah, there's still some more decks to look at. So we'll quickly try to get through some of these decks here real quick. I guess we can kind of just see if there's anything interesting in any of these lists here. We got Alex Szymanski, it looks like, playing the Moon to Dunsparce deck. That's cool to see that. Or actually, no, he played Gardevoir. I lied. It was above. I got the names mixed up there. But yeah, we did see Alex play the Guardian. The same 60 as what Josh played. Makes sense. Obviously, they're partners. Okay, never mind. All right. I lied. Yeah, Josh and Alex are like testing partners. Future hands with the Crisis Punch, kind of the Lugia here with the 1/1 Noivern. So trying to tech for the Ancient Box, trying to tech for the Future Hands matchup. Being the big matchup, obviously you want to tech for Future Hands. I like the idea of Thornton in the deck. So if like the Noibat gets taken out early on by Miraidon, you can still Thornton into the Noibat and then into the Noivern out of nowhere. So that's cool. Thornton and Lugia is actually really interesting. You can do a lot of cool things with that actually. Saw pitches are there with Minior. See here another Ancient Box with it's a bit more heavy attackers. We got the Maroon EX in the deck. Got the Slitherwing and the Great Tusk within the deck too. Cool stuff, cool stuff. And we got another Turbo Roaring Moon. Now this is cool. My boy Eric did play this really cool Moon Turbo build. Now it does have Darkrai in the deck, which allows you obviously to use like Prime Catcher, which is really powerful. And then you have the Iron Leaves in the deck to help your Charizard matchup. And I do like the idea of that because Charizard can be tough, but when you have Iron Leaves in the deck as a one-shot option, it does go a long way within the deck. So really cool list there. Kind of quickly skim through these Pidgeysard decks here real quick. That was a Gengar's. Okay, Gengar in the Charizard deck. Look at that. Another Moon to Dunsparce. Another Ancient Box deck here with the one of Slitherwing. Another Seapow. Another Pidgeysard. Let's see. What do we got here? We got another Lost Box pile. Yeah, more traditional Lost Zone deck. Cool stuff. Kind of Lugia in day 2. A lot of Lugia that we've looked at so far. Another Tina. And another Charizard with that one of Delphox. Actually, quite a few Delphox Charizard decks we've looked at so far. Interesting to know. We got another Seapow playing the Kyogre within the deck. And then we got another Moon and the Dunsparce. And we got Lugia once again with the Weirder and the Mew. I like that. Weirder's still actually not bad. It's kind of like a reverse Cinccino kind of. It does kind of the same thing. You just load up with energy and it just does like a billion damage. And then the Mew, like I said, really cool stuff. So, I don't know. Lugia can still be worked around with all the tech cards. There's a lot of options for what you can play within Lugia for sure. So, yeah. A lot more innovations, I'm sure, to come within Lugia. A couple more Pidgeysards here. Another Snorlax control within day 2. Then, of course, we do have another Lugia. More straightforward build. And then we got another Arctina. And then, finally, more Arc piles. We got another Arc Armor Rouge. Cool stuff. Got the Gouging Fire in the deck and the Delphox T-Ran, the Armor Rouge EX. And we got another Arc Vulpix here. Now, this one is the Arc Vulpix Noivern deck. So, trying to be more of a lock deck. You got the Vulpix really good against Charizard. If you can Turo and just leave Vulpix in play, obviously your opponent can't really deal with it. Then you got the Noivern in the deck, which can help against the Ancient and future decks. And then, of course, Medical Energy is very, very helpful, especially when you're trying to attack with Noivern over and over again and attack with Vulpix. You can heal any ways they can attack you. Another Goldengo here in day 2 with the Palkias and stuff. I'm happy to see a couple Goldengos in day 2. Very happy about that. I love Goldengo. We got another Pidgeysard, and we got another Future Toolbox deck. Plays the Iron Bundle in the deck as another attacker, so it did have the Leaves, the Hands, but does have that Iron Bundle too as a fighting Pokemon. And we got another Charizard here, and let's see, we got another Tina. Playing the Bayonet, there you go. Another Lost Zone. Ooh, interesting. We got a Lost Zone deck. Another, like, future-y take on the deck. It does have the Hands, does have the Leaves. No Crown, but does have the Miraidon EX. I like the idea of Miraidon. It's a Dragon Pokemon. It does synergize nicely with Sableye and Iron Hands and Raikou, because it does require Lightning and Psychic. I've thought about that in Lost Box, too, so cool stuff to see that in day 2. Definitely really cool. Then we got another Zard. Another Arc Goo in day 2, so 2 Arc Goos in day 2. Cool stuff. Bit different than what we saw Israel Sosa play, I think, here. Bit of a different list. But yeah, cool to see 2 Arcgoos in day 2. And then finally, to round things out, we got another Shempao Excalibur. And there you go. Those are all the decks that made day 2 at Orlando, at Perth, and at the, I think, was it Singapore? I already forget. It was Singapore. Okay, good. Just making sure. But yeah, big takeaways. Charizard dominating the format. Charizard is the BDF right now. It's a lot of people have been talking about the idea of, like, is Charizard on the same level as Lugia Silver Tempest was during that meta where Lugia was, like, the most dominant deck? I don't think it's on the same power level. I would compare Charizard more to where Palkia V-Star was during the Astro Radiance format. Maybe we'll do a video discussing Charizard's dominance and, like, is it good for the game, blah, 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 stuff like that. Like, is Charizard healthy for the game? Kind of like that Snorlax video we did, earlier on, like, this year. But there you go, folks. That is all the decks that made day 2. Let me know what you think of the decks that made day 2. Some pretty interesting stuff in day 2. Again, we saw some very cool Arc decks in day 2. We saw Meowscarada in day 2 of that Perth tournament. Very cool stuff. And that'll be it for me. If you enjoyed the video here on the second channel, leave a like. If you're new, make sure to subscribe down below. Help me on the road to reaching 14,000 subs. You want to go check out any of these decks for yourself and build any of them. I'll leave a link to Limitless in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye.